So here on the floor, HeliExpo 2019 with Hughes Aerospace and Chris Baur, specializing in IFR procedures, specifically the pins approaches. How's your show going so far, Chris? You getting a lot of traffic so far?
Well, Rex, thanks for stopping by the booth. And yes, it's been a great show for us.
Awesome. So when we look at the IFR world, this is something that the helicopter world has really only gotten into in the last 10 to 15 years with both feet. It's been slow, but now we're seeing a really huge uptick in that. So what are the things that you develop that helicopter pilots and operators really are gravitating towards business?
Well, what we do is we create an airline-grade experience for our helicopter customers. We like to give them instrument approaches that will give them safe, reliable, dependable dispatch to an all-weather day-night operation. We offer different approaches for different customers. We're diversified in that we serve the helicopter vertical flight community, but we also serve airlines, governments, countries worldwide.
Okay.
And we're different too in that we're one of two public FAA service providers. And what that means is we can build special instrument approaches like for helicopters, and we can build public instrument approaches that like you flew in on an airline, no doubt, when you landed at the airport. So we're held to very high standards as a result of that. And we're also certified by ICAO and several other foreign governments that we build and maintain instrument approaches in. So we've taken this experience and we've gone and worked with the FAA to cultivate new criteria that will allow you to get more out of the investment in your aircraft and the avionics. So copter LPV approaches, which terminates as a point in space with a visual segment to the heliport, that can yield minimums of 250-foot height above surface, 3/4 of a statute mile visibility, almost an ILS in terms of having that capability. And it's available to you 24/7. It doesn't matter how good or bad the weather is. There's nothing on the ground that needs to be calibrated or maintained. The procedures are maintained, and we maintain them to the highest level of FAA standards and to whatever the current level of criteria is. So the procedure and your investment never go obsolete. So your investment is always sound.
Okay.
We're one of the only companies out today in the world that I'm aware of that actually has its own flight inspection helicopter.
Yeah, I've heard that you actually invested and put a helicopter online for your company. What type of aircraft are you using, and what do you have it outfitted for as far as being able to do the procedures?
So Hughes operates two aircraft. The helicopter is a R-66 Robinson helicopter with a full avionics suite with glass displays, autopilot, and Garmin GTN 650H FMS that also has the Garmin 345 ADS-B in and out transponder.
Okay.
And what that does is it allows us to create approaches and take the approaches out with a flight test database and perform the flight inspection activity for the customer. Now the customer doesn't have to take their helicopter out of service.
Right.
So there's a cost of operating that helicopter. If you're operating an Airbus 135, 145, and we'll say a nominal cost of $2,000, $2,100 an hour. And then there's the opportunity cost that when you take the aircraft out of service and your customer calls you and says, well, I need the helicopter for a mission, and you have to turn that mission down and another mission down, all that revenue is lost aside from a high operating expense of the aircraft. And what we're able to do is provide the customer with the flight inspection helicopter. They can participate in the flight inspection with us, or we could go and perform it for them if they don't have another pilot that they want to spare that day. So it allows them to get more out, and what it identifies to them is the hidden costs that may come with this. So we're very transparent up front. You're going to need to have an aircraft to do the flight inspection, and this cost has been borne by the operators for a long time. So this is, I think, a great savings for them, and certainly an option. And we do it for our fixed-wing customers, and we have for many, many years. We operate a turboprop to go out and perform the fixed-wing flight inspection.
Okay. So you probably seen an uptick, I assume, in the business that you're getting, and what kind of turnaround time are you guys experiencing from start to finish on putting in these approaches and departures?
It depends if the government shuts down or not. I say that tongue in cheek, but in the past, I would say 6 to 9 months. As of late, it's running closer to 9 to 12 months from the time we start the project until the time the customer's actually flying the approaches.
What are some of the biggest challenges that when you come in, do you find that is there things you have to fix geographically or infrastructure-wise before you move forward?
So that's another really good question. So one of the things we do also that's different is we operate a UAS. And we take the UAS and we map the hospital heliport if it's at a hospital, or if it's at an office location or someone's residence. We take our UAS, we develop a survey pattern for it, and we're able to create digital elevation models of all the obstacles and terrain.
Okay.
We even create a digital 3D model of that location that we can save on the cloud. And if the proponent ever says, well, we're going to add a wing to the hospital, we can help them model this type of activity to not infringe on their investment of the approach because we've already collected all that data.
Right.
We go out and perform a ground obstacle survey where we look at all the ground obstacles in the area. Depending on the accuracy of how the obstacle is cataloged, we can go in and reassess that obstacle, achieving, again, lower minimums for the instrument approach because we can update the accuracy of the position and height of whatever the obstacle is. Sometimes we find obstacles that nobody knew were there, and then sometimes we look for obstacles that are long gone that were blocking airspace because they've been removed.
Gotcha.
So we develop the process by engaging with the customer, we engage with air traffic control, we have a dedicated staff of TERPS engineers, PANSOPS engineers, air traffic control folks. We work with the air traffic, the customer, and whatever the customer wants in terms of departure direction, arrival direction, multiple directions. We also create low-level routes for helicopters.
Okay.
We can create them as traditional copter transitions, but as of about 18 months ago, we worked with the FAA to develop RMP.3 copter airways. So we use the WASP constellation to provide the containment that allows the helicopter to use a lot less airspace.
Gotcha.
So
that's very important.
we can keep the helicopter lower and safer with a higher level of probability as to where the aircraft's actually navigating with this containment. And a 0.3 essentially means the rule of 2 times RMP says that there's a 95% probability that the aircraft will remain within 2 times RMP, which would be 0.6 of a mile. This is so much more accurate than what we ever had with ground-based nav aids.
Gotcha.
So it's a confluence of GPS and the augmentation of space-based augmentation, or WAS, in the United States that allows this to happen. And we can do it elsewhere in the world as well. So after the approach is developed, we go out and we perform the flight inspection. We make any changes or adjustments to the procedure based on that flight inspection, and then it gets submitted for approval. We also do our own digital color in-house charting, and as of recently, we can now provide these color charts to ForeFlight customers. So Hughes and ForeFlight have many mutual customers. Now they're able to use our georeference charts in the ForeFlight electronic flight bag, and we can push them those charts electronically, and they will display with own ship on the chart while they're flying the procedure, further enhancing situational awareness.
Awesome. So if people were interested in finding you, I assume you're on the web. What's your website? Where can people find more information about your company and contact you if they're actually looking for one of your products?
Well, we're on the web, HughesAerospace.com. You can always send an email to us at info@HughesAerospace.com.
Okay. Awesome. So a lot of great information on the IFR world. Definitely some significant things to think about if you're actually putting in an IFR approach, and some opportunities, I think, out there for people looking for IFR. So If you're interested, stop by Hughes Aerospace booth at HeliExpo or call them and look them up on the web. This is Rex Alexander for the Vertical Flight Society, HeliExpo 2019.